Welcome in, guys, to Seahawks Today by Chat Sports. I'm Meghan Payton. This video is presented by BetUS. We're going to tell you about them later, but we've got a lot for you. We've got news, rumors, injury updates, roster changes, a preview for next week's game, all of this to come. But let's first get into our roster moves. The Seahawks made a couple changes, nothing too crazy, but worth noting that QB Danny Etling, he was cut from the practice squad. We're not super surprised by that. Center Brad Lumbley, he's added back to the practice squad. Fun fact, I did go to high school with him. Keep an eye out for quarterback Jake Luton. He may be promoted to the active roster. Now, he cannot be elevated to the active roster now that he was already put back onto the practice squad. So if he wants to play or be part of the 53-man roster in this week's game, he is going to have to be signed to the 53-man roster. And a couple just interesting things to note. Greg Bell, who reports on the Seahawks, he said Pete Carroll wants to see Ethan Posick play at center and wants to see how Kyle Fuller, the starter there so far, reacts to that. It's a very important position in Shane Waldron's offense. So a little bit spicy things may be happening here. Pete Carroll saying maybe he wants to see Ethan Posick. I don't know if that would happen as soon as this week against Jacksonville. We'll keep you guys updated on that, but just something to keep an eye out. Now, I know most of you probably aren't feeling fantastic after Monday's game, and that's totally understandable. 2-5, not a great situation to be in. But I also don't want everyone to just get completely down on the Seahawks, say that the season is over 100%. Guys, Seahawks fans, you've got to stay in it. But I am going to ask you right now, how are you feeling going into week 9? You can be honest right now. Scale it 1 to 10. If you're feeling awful, give it a 1. And if you're feeling fantastic, give it a 10, hoping that it's at least somewhere in the middle. But if you have not already, make sure you are subscribed to this channel because we are going to be keeping you updated through the good, bad, and ugly. Let's get into our injury update for today. Some good news, some bad news. You guys saw Marquise Blair going out with that knee injury in Monday's game against the Saints. As expected, if you heard Pete Carroll's press conference after the game, it seemed he called it very significant. Well, it's been confirmed that it was a patella injury and his kneecap actually got fractured. So obviously that happens. You're expected to miss at least a good chunk of time. We're not sure if he's going to have to get surgery, but this does suck because Blair had that ACL injury back in 2020. It was week 2. He missed the season for that. And so, I feel bad. I feel like a guy like this, we were starting to see more out of him. Now this happens, it is what it is. But positive notes, Darrell Taylor, who went out with the very scary looking neck injury against the Steelers. We thought actually potentially he was going to play in the Saints game. He did not, but Pete Carroll said he is expected to return for the game against Jacksonville. He actually said he was very close to returning. So it's funny how sometimes you see an injury where you get carted off. It looks very severe, but really, ultimately, it was the NFL just taking extra precautions. So good news on Taylor. Good news on Damien Lewis, who we did not see on Monday against the Saints. He went out with a shoulder injury week prior. He is now expected to return. This is positive news. Again, Pete Carroll said that he was another guy that was very close to being ready for this Saints game, was not. Now he expects both of them to be ready for Jacksonville. And the Seahawks will be at home for this game. Right now they are favorites at -3. You want to say the Seahawks have had a bad year? Well, it's not as bad as Jacksonville. Jacksonville has only won 1 game. At least Seahawks have won 2. I think that the Seahawks have a good chance at winning this game, but a lot of things have to happen. We're going to go over my keys to victory right now. Over-unders at 43.5. Lots to talk about with this game, but I do want your early score predictions. Go to the comments right now. Let's think, hey, it's the Jacksonville Jaguars. If there's a team the Seahawks can beat, and if there's a time for Geno Smith to step up, it is this game. Get your score predictions now. and we'll keep you updated as the spread changes, as the game gets closer. I do want to tell you about an amazing deal that is happening from our presenting sponsor, that is BetUS. BetUS is the best sports book, guys. If you're betting at all this season, check out chatsports.com/bet. They are doing an insane offer where if you go sign up, use promo code Seahawks125, you've got to make sure you use that code. You're going to get 125% deposit bonus. That means you put up $100, it's going to turn into $225. That's $125 of free money. Now, if you guys are new to BetUS, I've got an even better deal for you. You go through the steps that I just said. Well, you can also get a free jersey. That can be a Russell Wilson jersey. That could also be a DK Metcalf jersey. So like I said, sign up, use the promo code Seahawks125. And by the end of the month, you got to make sure you use jersey@chatsports.com. That's what you got to email us showing us that you did this, and you are going to get a free Seahawks jersey of your choice, DK Metcalf or Russell Wilson. Let's get into it now. The keys to victory. We're just going to touch on a few things here. Ultimately, a lot has to improve for the Seahawks to win. And I know a lot of people were saying that last week was a must-win game. Well, this week really is. I mean, they're coming off a short week, the Monday night game, but they have to win. I'm saying it now, and this is how I feel. If the Seahawks are going to keep the encouragement, keep the hope for playoffs alive, this is the time to beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. First thing that needs to happen is they need to allow Geno to throw more. I mean, I understand, and some of you might disagree with this, but he only had 22 attempts last week. He was 12 for 22, so that's not fantastic. 167 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He had a QBR of 26.9. Now, here's my thought process. The run game didn't work. They relied too much on the run. And so now you've got to look at what you've got and say, hey, if Geno Smith's playing in this game, we're trusting him enough to play, so we're going to trust him enough to allow him to throw. You've got great guys like DK. You've got great guys like Tyler Lockett, Gerald Everett. You've got a good group of receivers and tight ends. I think they need to trust Geno, at least go for it. I mean, what do you have to lose at this point? Trust Geno Smith. Do you guys agree with me, though? Do you think that Seattle should trust Geno Smith a little bit more? If so, type Y for yes. If not, N for no. That is also going to be a factor on whether or not the offensive line steps up. So Geno can throw more if the offensive line is better. It goes hand in hand. So we need better offensive line protection. And I think it's going to help having Damien Lewis back. We didn't get to see him last week, but it's going to fall on, hey, maybe it's not even Kyle Fuller. Maybe it's Ethan Posick that it's going to fall on. But Damien Lewis, Dwayne Brown, Brandon Shell, all of these guys need to step up. Give Geno a little bit more time. It is not Russell. Russell can scramble and work his way in the pocket, out of the pocket. Geno is not that guy. They need better protection. I'm going to tell you about a couple other predictions that I have for this game. But again, if you are not subscribed to Seahawks Today, make sure you go click that big red button. We will keep you guys updated. We're going to have a post-game video right after the Seahawks game. It's going to recap everything, and I'm hoping it's a little bit more positive this week. So make sure you are subscribed to our channel. Next key to victory I have for the Seahawks to win against Jacksonville is they need to clean up the penalties. Now, we saw how much that affected the Seahawks losing this game against the Saints. And I understand there were some bad ref calls in that game. We talked about it. If you haven't seen it, go look at our overreaction video, our recap video. We go through all of this. But without Russ, you cannot afford to make mistakes. So, yes, you can pick out the certain plays and say, hey, that wasn't fair. But ultimately, the refs were bad on both sides of the ball. They didn't favor one team. You know, they kind of looked at, I feel like they made some bad decisions and then they tried to make up for it by calling a different penalty on a different team. But ultimately, 6 penalties for 53 yards, not good. The Al Woods offsides, we've talked about it. That was just really, you can't have that happen again. The Saints had a much easier field goal after that offsides because they got the first down, able to bring the ball down a little bit. The Gerald Everett taunting call, throwing the ball at PJ Williams. You can't have that. These are just sloppy things. Marquise Blair with the 15-yard roughing the passer. Now, maybe you guys will say that wasn't roughing the passer, but the Seahawks need to clean up these mistakes. So if they can allow Geno to throw the ball a little bit more, if we can get some more offensive line protection, and if they can clean up these penalties, I think the Seahawks will beat Jacksonville, and I think they really need to win. This is a must-win game. So we'll keep you guys updated as the week gets closer, and stay tuned for some trade rumors, trade deadline approaching November 2nd. Again, we'll make sure to keep you updated on that.